Hey everyone, Dr. Lee Bryce here, and I am your instructor for SOC 1101 Introduction to Sociology. So, I like to do recordings for students throughout the semester. That way, you get to hear me, see me. The goal is for you to feel like you get to know me a little bit better than your typical asynchronous online class. This is especially important in our B term because it really is this sped up process, right? You're essentially doing the same amount of work as other Social 1101 students, but in half the amount of time. So, if you are really familiar with eLearn and you know how to access everything for our course, the rest of today's video might be a little bit of a refresher. You might not need to sort of see what I'm talking about. But if you're new to eLearn, especially if you've never taken an online asynchronous class, which just means that we don't meet face to face on Zoom or in person or anything like that. Your asynchronous means you're working at your own speed. Or if you haven't really utilized eLearn that much in your time as a student at Sinclair, this tutorial should hopefully help you find the content that you need in order to be successful in our class. I'm going to hit pause for just a second so that I can get my eLearn page in student view. And then from there, I'll show you how to find the important information you need to access on our class eLearn page. Just a second. All right, everyone, I'm back and I'm in student mode now. So when you go to my.sinclair.edu and you log in using your Sinclair credentials, you should come to a page where you see all of your classes for spring semester, and then you'll click on our class, which this is what it should look like. And from there, this is what the page is going to look like. Now, the first thing you need to always do in order to find virtually anything on our class content is you want to go to this content page. The one caveat is that this first page will show you due dates here in the calendar, but that's not really useful because you can't access the content, the stuff that you need to be studying and listening and reading and all that. So go to content. From there, you'll see the course overview section. That's really the foundation of our class and the focus for today and our sort of beginning of the semester type stuff. And then you'll see from there, the first 4 weeks are available to students. As we continue making progress in our semester, I will open up additional weeks. While our class is asynchronous and you can work at your own pace in terms of completing work, that means you can complete assignments early if you need to. I don't want students feeling overwhelmed. That's why I limit the amount of work you have access to. But if you ever need me to open a week early because you have to plan around travel, work, family obligations, that sort of thing, you're always welcome to send me an email letting me know you need early access to, week 4, week 5, week 6, whatever the case might be. And I'm happy to make that visible to all students in the class so that you can start working ahead as you plan around your semester. And so here you'll see that if you go to week 1, which of course is the week we're in, we're focusing on introduction and sociological perspectives and theory. Pretty much all sections in each of the weekly folders have drop downs. And so when you click on introduction, you'll see that there's a bunch of other stuff. There's modules where we cover, the learning objectives. You have videos to watch often. The assignments that are due for that week will be embedded in these drop downs. So here you can see the department pretest, which is a quiz, is available here, and it's worth 5 points. Another video. There's a discussion board this week. And then for the second part of week 1, we're focusing on sociological perspective and theory. And you'll see, again, when you click on this, there's a drop down with all of the content for that module. This first page sort of gives you an overview of what to do for this module. So you see, here's the objectives, the introduction, some more overview stuff. And you just sort of work through and click on each thing and work through the module. Sorry, there's some videos, a writing workshop. Here's a quiz. And then one thing that's really important in my classes is I always have students read all of the logistical things related to our class, including our syllabus and our class schedule with all the due dates and the readings. And then once you've done that and you've had the opportunity to email any follow-up questions you might have about those logistical factors to our class, my expectation is that students will sign the class agreement, which is on the last page of the downloadable version of our syllabus. The reason I do that is because I want us to all be on the same page and have sort of a signed documentation that we understand the rules and the policies and the expectations, as well as the readings and the due dates for all assignments in our class at the beginning of the semester. I never want to get to a place where students are about to finish the semester and they're so confused on what the expectations are for our class because they didn't thoroughly read the guiding documents like the syllabus and the course schedule, and or they didn't ask follow-up questions at the beginning of the semester when it's sort of the time and place to do that sort of thing and ask those types of questions. All right, so I will show you more about the guiding documents in just a second. I wanted to sort of show you where all of the week 1 stuff is. And this also demonstrates what the weekly folders on eLearn look like, what the different learning modules look like each week, and how to find the readings, the content, the lectures, and the assignments that you're expected to complete each week. And you'll see that before you click on the drop down, you'll see, for week 1, there are 15 things to complete. That includes all readings, videos, and assignments. 5 of those are in the introduction module. 9 of those are in the sociological perspective and theory module. You can also see, here's week 2, there's 12 things to complete, 6 in research methods, 6 in culture and society. And so essentially all of the weekly folders on our eLearn page are structured very similarly. If you ever think that something is missing in a weekly folder and or a module within that week, based off of the course schedule and the due dates, you can always email me and I'm happy to follow up. All right. But back to the beginning, course overview. So here's information about me. It's, information about who I am as a person, what my credentials are, and my experience teaching. From there, the next item in the course overview is the syllabus. This is the online syllabus. So at Sinclair Community College, essentially all online Social 1101 classes have the same baseline syllabus. And so that includes course material. There's information here about our textbook. Again, everyone in Social 1101, regardless of whether you're taking the class online or in person, uses the same book, so that there's information about that here. Here is more information about me as far as how to contact me, when my office hours are, and stuff like that. And then this one is really, really important. This is our class schedule of when assignments are due. And so you can see here are all the assignments and all the due dates. And of course, we go till week 8 in our B term class. Pretty much all assignments in our class are going to be due Sunday at 11:59 p.m. But if there's anything on here that states otherwise, always follow the due date that is listed on the course schedule. And it should always align with the due date that is posted for that assignment on eLearn. All right. I would actually encourage you to go to print and then save this course schedule as a PDF. That way you have a downloadable version of it. And that can just sort of help if you don't have internet access or something like that. Here's grading information. I know this is a big one. Students always want to know how they're going to be graded. You can see we have the course overview quiz, and then there are 13 reading quizzes, 4 discussion posts. The discussion posts in this class are more in depth. They're basically like mini papers. You have to have in-text citations that are properly formatted and things like that. So for that reason, there are fewer discussion posts because you should be spending more time thinking more critically for those discussion posts. And then finally, there's 4 exams, department pre-test and post-test, for a total of 460 points this semester. And you can see the breakdown of how to get an A, B, C, D, or F. There's also a little bit of additional information about grading. If you've never taken an online course and/or you've never taken a fast-paced B-term class that only lasts 8 weeks, here's some information about time commitment and communication. You should be checking your email from me multiple times a week, especially because there are so many assignments due each week in this fast-paced B-term class, right? Like I said, we're doing the same amount of work as other intro SOC students in half the amount of time. There's more information about etiquette when you're engaging with your classmates virtually and you're typing responses to each other in the discussion posts. And then finally, here's more information about late policies and that sort of thing. And some additional information about how to set yourself up for success in these online, fast-paced, asynchronous classes. Now, in addition to that, here is a downloadable version of the syllabus. It has a lot of this stuff in a Word file, okay, right? So like my information as far as where my office is, what my email is, what my office hours are, all of that stuff is here. There's also some more general overview information as far as what our student learning objectives are. And this basically all comes from the course catalog at Sinclair. More information about the course textbook. So just another way for you to access that. Again, our textbook is available online for free. And not only is there a readable PDF for free, but you should be able to access the audiobook on pretty much any platform where you listen to books. So I've had students tell me that they've accessed the audiobook for free through their Spotify account, which Spotify offers a student account. But wherever you listen to your audiobooks, you should be able to access our textbook. This is the proper APA citation of our textbook. So whenever you're needing to cite our textbook for your discussion posts and things like that, this is what your reference should look like. Again, more information about just, university policies, so academic integrity, ensuring that you're submitting all original information about being respectful in online virtual spaces or in etiquette. My attendance policy, which might not seem super relevant in an online asynchronous class, but it is important to keep in mind that you should be keeping up to date with all class content. And you should be completing assignments on time. I know life happens, and I am empathetic to students and your experiences, but in these fast-paced classes, it becomes very challenging when students miss assignments due to illness or other logistical reasons, because it's such a challenge to get caught up when you only have 8 weeks to complete everything. So really be careful about that. This is our commitment to anti-oppression in the classroom, because in basically all sociology classes, we talk about things like race, class, and gender, as well as other identity categories. That's really the foundation of what we study in sociology. People will likely share things about their everyday lived experiences and their lives and their identities in spaces that other students can see, like the discussion board forums, where you actually are required to respond to your classmates, right? And so when you see things related to someone's race, class, gender, or other identity category, we want to be respectful. And so this is all outlined in the commitment to anti-oppression. And of course, students should read this downloadable syllabus on their own time, all the way through, including the commitment to anti-oppression. One thing I always like to make students aware of is that I try to have good boundaries around email communication. So I try to be the most responsive to emails during Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. With that said, if there's something really urgent over the weekend or late at night, I'll do my best to respond to you if I can. Know that if you're asking for an extension and the due date is Sunday at 11:59 p.m. and you're asking pretty late on Sunday, I'm not going to answer, but I will respond later on Monday, and I will do my best to honor your request for an extension if you asked before the due date, even if I'm getting back to you after the due date. I also mentioned in the initial email I sent to our class Sunday night before our class started, I actually teach an 8 a.m. class in person Monday and Wednesday. So I am never going to be able to respond to weekend emails first thing Monday morning. At the earliest, I usually am able to sit down and start answering emails Monday morning around 10:30. But that's at the earliest. That's assuming I don't have students wanting to meet with me or asking me questions after that class is over. So just keep that in mind. Here's my AI policy. Basically, my expectation is that students will not use AI generated sources or information to think creatively or critically for them. However, if you would like to use AI to clean up and polish your work as far as grammar and that sort of thing, you can. Think about a platform such as Grammarly, which uses AI to sort of proofread your material that you're submitting. You can use AI for that. But for details, you can read this part of the syllabus. Um, if you do use AI to self edit, to proofread your work, make a notation of that just so that I know. It's just important for there to be that level of transparency. Here's information about revisions and grading. You'll see that same grade breakdown and how to earn the grade you might need for GPA purposes. A reminder about the fact that students are responsible for making up content they may have missed during periods of illness or travel, that sort of thing. So if you get behind in art class, make sure you're touching base with me and other students in the class to figure out what did you miss and that sort of thing. Here's other information about class resources, university resources. So ADA resources, financial challenges, first generation, mental health, caregivers, religious accommodations, just all sorts of things that hopefully will help you be successful as a student if you're experiencing any challenges. We do have institutional level resources available to students. And then finally, once you've read everything on this page, these pages on this downloadable syllabus, and you've read everything here, you've clicked on all these drop downs, you've read all that stuff. You are going to sign this last page here. It's the class agreement. And it basically says that you're agreeing to adhere to the academic honesty agreement, which has to do with plagiarism and AI. You're agreeing to be respectful and you understand the class expectations and you understand all of the different policies and information communicated in this syllabus. Or if you didn't understand everything, you ask questions and now understand everything. Okay. So once you can, sign and date all of this, you'll go to week 1. And at the very bottom, you will add your file and then don't forget to click submit. Your signed class agreement is not worth points, but I do take it into consideration when I factor end of semester grades. And my expectation is that everyone will read the syllabus all the way through and complete this assignment because it is us agreeing to the sort of parameters of our class. The last important thing that I want to talk about is the course overview quiz. So in order to access content on our class eLearn page, You have to complete the overview quiz and you have to get 100%. Okay. So if you don't get 100%, you have to keep retaking it until you do, but you do have an unlimited number of times to take that. The reason being is that Sinclair just wants to ensure that students taking online classes fully understand how to access all of the content and know what they're doing in terms of technology and that sort of thing. And so that's what the questions are really about, is basically, do you know how to successfully complete this class? So make sure you get that done as soon as possible, or you won't be able to access any of the learning modules I shared with you in week 1 or any of the other remaining weeks. So you won't be able to complete assignments for credit, okay? Other than that, have a great week. I'm excited to jump right into our fast paced 8-week B-term class. Have a good one, everyone. I will make another video for you soon.